All right, you're on.
Okay, welcome to the February 19th, 2019 Board of Adjustments, Southern Board of Adjustments, call to order. We have one case on the docket for today, at 1901. We do only have 4 members of the board seated. You have the option of continuing until we have a full board. That is your option. Would you like to proceed?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And we,
The papers on
the
that.
papers,
The application?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, no problem.
And since we've been having this conversation, we want to make sure that in going forward, we understand and let's make sure that the board is in agreement that should we have a split vote 2-2, it will be considered a failure. Are we all good with that? You understand? And do you still want to proceed?
Yes.
Okay, all righty.
I do.
All right, well, as it is customary, you have the floor to present. Okay.
So I have a package that I would like to all look at if you.
Okay.
Karen, would you accept the application, or that's just plain?
You're just playing or
So first of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. And so that we do have the glory, and I also want to thank you for the opportunity for me to speak in front of you, so thank you for that. My name is Debbie Lemoy, and my father, Paul Nelson, has owned property on Lake Winnisquam for 40 years, since 1979. Okay. And I just wanted to show you this first picture, and this is of my husband and I going up to visit him with the kids. Now, back in the day, okay, so we didn't have cell phones, we had Polaroid pictures, that's what we had. So this is me and my husband and the kids and my dad, and he would take us all around the lake and show us the mountains and take us water skiing or whatever. So, you know, I have some real fond memories of being up there at the lake house. This next picture I wanted to show you is my father was an entertainer. Yodeling Paul Nielsen in the Golica Trailblazers. I don't know if you've heard of him or not. He did weddings and all kinds of events. Okay. So what he would do is every 4th of July and Labor Day, he would put on this big like shindig kind of jamboree up at the association. And he would gather all these musicians, and he'd build a stand, and he would put on this event. And before I go any further, I'm sorry, this is Trish from the association. She's the president of the association. And this is Gary Anderson, who is the builder. Okay, so I'm sorry, I meant to start off with introductions there. But anyway, so my dad was an entertainer, and he would always have his guitar on him, and people would always ask him to sing wherever he went. And so he would put these events on at the association, like I said, for the 4th of July and for Labor Day. And I'm telling you, hundreds of people would come. I mean, they'd bring their, you know, their friends, their neighbors, whatever. And it was just a good time, a lot of, you know, just dancing and food, fun and food and all of that. And so another picture I thought was very interesting that I wanted to show you was this is my dad on stage. And this is up at the lake, and you can see the lake behind him. But you know what I thought was really cool? The association has a Facebook page. So I'm perusing down, and I found a posting with my father on there. It was posted April 2015, and it says, "This is a picture from one of the Labor Day weekend parties that used to take place every year." I'm not sure which year, probably the 80s. And the Nielsens, being my father, would always put on a ton of musicians and a performance over the weekend that was such a blast. So I thought it was pretty cool that like he made social media. You know, he doesn't know it, but he did. He made social media. So anyway, but since then, he has since passed, and he's going to be very missed, and already is very missed. But he left me his lake house. So, no, I'm not going to be putting on those events like he did, but he did leave me his lake house, and I just want to say that, so now when we come up we bring our kids and our grandchildren, which are his great-grandchildren, actually. And I just want to say that everybody in the association has been so warm and welcoming to us, I can't even tell you. And so many people have said to me, how happy he would, how happy he would be that we would, and how happy he would be that we would, use the lake house. I'm sorry, I don't want to cry. Okay. Anyway, how happy he would be.
Take a breath. It's okay. It's all good.
I didn't think I got emotional. Anyway, so the kids are he's a little bit up there. Kids jumping into the water, just having a good time. But this has a playground, so the kids love it. Every time we talk about the lake house, they just really love it. Okay. Anyway, the next two pictures are the lake house. And so, yes, and some would say it's somewhat of an eyesore, okay? We just want to make it better. That's what we want to do, is just make it better. So what we did is we talked to a couple of the neighbors and asked them, what do you think we can do? And they said, just square off the corners, and that's what they did, and we should be fine. So, I'm looking at it because it is quite small, I'm like, well, if we square off the corners, that will work, that could work. So, so what we did is I went down and had had the plans made, and then started to go with permits. And then, so the first thing I did is I went to the building inspector, and he says, well, you gotta start with DES. So I said, okay. So we hired a reputable surveyor, Brian Dave Associates, I don't know if you've heard of them. But anyway, we hired a reputable surveyor, and he created the plans for the DES, and also had the application. And he submitted it, and it passed, no problem. So it was, no problem there. And so the next thing we had to do was go to the association and get their approval. So we did, and they approved it, and the setbacks, no problem. We met all the setback requirements on that, so that was good. And then the next thing we had to do was go to get the building permit. So I hired a reputable builder, and he went down to apply for the building permit. So he went down and with the permit and the check and the building plans and all of that, and submitted the package. And he had thought he was given the go-ahead to start and, proceed. So we started building. And we have, I'm sorry, is that, this is John. Oh, hi, John. He's the Vice President of the Association? Yes. So anyway,
So you have the permit.
So yes, okay, so we had the permit, so we began building. So here we are, the kids are all excited, the building's going up, and we're they're picking out the color of the rooms, and we're like, oh, the new, Weird Paul's new lake house, we're gonna have it down there this summer, and, it's gonna be all good to go. And then I got a phone call, and it said, you have to start building. You changed our area. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, totally blindsided. Like, what? You need a variance? Well, believe me, but I tell you, if I had known I needed a variance, I would have got a variance. There would have been no question about that. And so I honestly, I can sit here and tell you that I honestly thought I was doing everything right. I mean, I went to DES, I got the DES permit, they're all set. I got the association permit, they're all set. I got what I thought was the building permit, and that was all set. And now I'm finding out now that I need a variance. So now I'm coming to you because I need a variance. So, if you would be so kind to just look at the next picture, is the original footprint of my father's cottage. And as you can see, it has an odd-shaped jog to it here. So what we're looking to do is just square off the existing footprint and just kind of square off the corners. By squaring it off, I think it's going to look a lot cleaner. it's definitely gonna be a lot more useful and livable. And I wanna say that it's gonna fit really nicely into the neighborhood. I have a couple of pictures of houses, of the neighborhood. There, hold that for me, thank you. There's a couple of houses here that have the footprint squared off. And you can see that. This particular house has the road in the front and the lake to the back. And then this house here, I mean, you can see how big these houses are. And I want to just tell you, by me squaring off the corners, I mean, it's, not only is it gonna fit into the neighborhood, it's gonna be one of the smaller houses. I mean, this is just, you know, it's not as big as any of these, but we're happy with it. That's all we wanna do. So, you know, we're given a couple of letters, I think ahead of time, of two of the board, they're on the board, that I was in favor of the house. I mean, it's certainly an improvement, and they're in favor of, you know, building the house and our family being added to the association.
John is the vice president.
Yeah, I said John and Trish, they're the president, vice president association. And, sorry. And then the last picture I just want to show you is our family. Now, the first picture I showed you was just my husband and 2 kids. Well, those 2 kids have since got married and have children. So I have now five grandchildren. And, again, they just love the lake. And, so all I'm asking to do is to, you know, make the lake house big enough for my family to enjoy it. So that we can all come up at the same time and stay over, and just enjoy the lake as a family. And so I'm just asking for your help. I'm sorry for being.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
That's all right. So can you tell me how far into the setbacks?
Okay, that's gonna be him.
Okay.
Has everyone seen the buffer? Walked out around?
Yeah, I've been to it. This is the coverage. What we need is, on side and rear is a 20-foot setback, the front yard is a 30-foot setback. So by squaring it off, it's not changing the footprint, we still have 13 feet on this side, we need a variance for 8 feet or 7 feet 10 inches. And
So you need a variance for this new section?
yes, just to square it
This
off.
is existing.
The yellow is existing.
So is it a completely new structure of
It
the
is.
same footprint?
It is, it's just.
So
square it
you're
off.
gonna demo? Okay, completely
Just
demo.
bigger.
Okay. Okay, so, but this is the existing, you have an 11.1 setback here and a 13.2 here.
Correct.
That was the original structure.
Yes.
Yes.
Is this considered the front?
That is where's the lakefront.
Okay.
So you have 52.
Okay.
It's not what we analyzed, evaluated.
How did you?
So that would be the front entrance?
Yeah.
So that would be the front of the building?
Yes, right. Is that where the front entryway is sitting?
Yes.
The one that comes 7 feet, 10 inches from the
Isn't this,
property
is
line?
this the building line too? This new one? This big square?
No, that's the fencing, or, they're required to put up fencing to keep the construction
Oh, the
site.
construction fencing?
Yeah,
So that's the
construction
silt
fencing.
that's around there now?
Okay.
So this is the rear entrance, or what the town is calling the front. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And so the town's requirement is 30 feet here, and they're looking to come 7 feet, 10 inches from the property line. And the town's requirement is 20 on the sides, and I think here it comes about 11 from the property line,
Yes.
to answer Charles' question.
Okay, but this is, so with this existing one though, has it already been torn down?
It has.
Okay,
The new one is already built, that's why I asked if you guys
It's a-
could.
Well,
The foundation's
started,
poured and
yeah.
it looks like it's pretty much shown away, so it's. At what point did you guys get the building permit? Because that's pretty,
We
that project's
applied-
pretty well done.
Right, the builder had applied for it up front. And
So when was that?
it's in the package.
It was December, it was around December 13th, I
Oh.
believe.
So that, was all that foundation stuff poured
Oh,
before that?
Oh,
No,
no.
no.
Oh.
Uh,
When was that poured? Foundation and stuff for the house that's there now?
Gary-
First week of January, first to second week of January.
It was poured the first week, you said?
This is the
It's probably
first or
110,
second
you
week,
said?
so the building permit application has a date of 1/10 on it.
Oh, was it 13th? December 13th.
This says
It was the first week, now it's
first
13th.
January
Do we get a
10th.
firm date? When did it actually get poured? Can we look it up? Or?
Oh,
Doesn't
oh,
matter.
oh, you mean?
I'm just curious when,
Yeah.
when it was put in, if it's before the permit or after. I just
Oh.
figured that someone would have stopped it between then, before it got.
December 13th is when he went down to apply for it, because that's the date of the check that we had, okay? And when the package was submitted was December 13th, okay? And then at that point, he thought he had the go-ahead, was given the go-ahead to start, and just, do the demo
So
and then.
was.
actually, the
Essentially.
building inspector hasn't. you
He
can
never
sign
signed
this.
it, yeah,
You can
I don't
sign
think
it.
the permit was.
Yeah.
That is
right.
correct.
So
All right.
the permit-
So,
The
okay.
foundation's poured now, that's why I asked if anyone was out there. 'Cause the Foundation's poured
All
now.
right,
When I
fix it.
told him I didn't know.
No, I don't, I've had to deal with this myself in my past life, so I understand all about family things and conservation areas. So have you got all the shoreline, the shore, New Hampshire shore permits
we
and all
do.
that?
Absolutely.
All that
It's
stuff?
in your package.
Okay,
I mean, what we're gonna be doing is putting in the rain garden and all these plants and shrubs, and my husband used to be a landscape foreman.
It's all,
So-
this is the plan that was approved on the second page here.
I think I went to the, I went to one screenshot, it was all up, you see it up. It's a nice foundation.
okay,
It's just like, it's just.
okay. So, do we have other questions from the board for the owners of the building?
Yeah, are you prepared, if we didn't approve it, are you guys prepared to correct it?
Yeah,
That's
we're gonna have
not
to do what we have to do. And
Yeah.
had I known, I mean, by going to the DES and to the association and, to the building, I mean, certainly I wouldn't do anything to jeopardize anything, I mean, I thought I did.
Getting the building
Yeah.
permit was, it just looked like the foundation's been there for a while. It was just.
So- Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, I just didn't know what was the date that the permit was issued? So the
Yeah,
building permit has not been
It
issued?
has not been
It's
Oh,
signed.
still has not been
information.
signed. So we
So
still don't
there
have a
is an
building
app.
permit.
The building permit was signed by their agent on 1/10/19.
Yeah,
It was not signed by anyone representing the town.
or the copy we have doesn't have a signature, and you're saying.
Right, I don't believe the town has, I don't believe Al would, matter of practice, not approve a building permit that requires a zoning variance.
All right.
Unless by mistake, and this is right.
Yeah, okay,
So it was never, actually, they still don't have a building permit essentially, because they should have came to the variance first, then went to the building permit.
right, so now, yes.
And I'm not saying I shouldn't, I did not, all I'm telling you is, in my heart of hearts, I did what I thought was right. I was not deliberately at all trying to drive it off.
So, if there are no other questions, we can entertain comments from the floor. Would anybody like to speak?
Well, I just want to say, as the president, and John here is the vice president, and I think we're on the same page, and you can add your own comments
Sure.
afterwards, but the letters from Allison and Darren as well, also long-term board members. We are certainly want to see it finished and done, and it adds a lot to our community. I don't know I know you saw what's there now, but, well, you see the
It's
pictures
a
here
nice
of
building.
what was there, and it looked like
Absolutely.
that probably the last 20 years. So we've been looking at that for quite a while. We loved the man, we hated the house. You know, but, so, I mean, whatever that could be done, we're here to support, you know.
Right, absolutely. I think we all would have done the same thing, looking at our own association setbacks, and that's what we all did when we
Yeah, it's pretty
changed all our houses. Yeah, it's very tight.
Very tight, yes. But did you guys, most of you guys did it through the process, hopefully, so.
Quite a while ago, the process was a lot different.
Probably not. I mean,
We saw Joe Plesner, and he signed off on it, and it was good to go, and that was it.
It's key to get the signature.
okay, so, any other, like
Just to
speak?
clarify dates for you,
Yeah,
there were two things that had to be done before any foundation went in, which were the demolition of the existing, which is what I had verbal on and thought it was a permit, and also the site work and tree cutting, so it really didn't happen until the end of January, nothing really happened.
How do you
Okay.
think you get a permit? That's my only question. Like, either it's like you see the permit, you have it, or you don't.
he had a verbal to demolish,
Demolish.
to demolish, that's what I just heard, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and when I told go ahead, I understood it to be to start construction.
But you never saw it.
Pardon me.
But you never actually had the permit.
No, I didn't. I went back in to just do a final signature
Yeah,
about the first of January,
And this is how, and
figuring that was,
Okay.
everything I needed.
that's normal in construction, is to start without permits, typically, or?
It's happened many times where it's inappropriate, yeah.
And Gary sits on the board, like you guys, in his town. So he's a board member himself in Nottingham.
okay, so does anybody else have anything else that they would like to say? Does any of the board members have any other questions that they would like to ask of the owners or the builder at this point?
I promise I won't cry.
So you demolished, thank you. Demolish the house without a demolition permit. You had a verbal, but that, I can have a verbal down to the next president of the United States, and that doesn't mean anything. So,
Oh.
I don't believe that's how we normally proceed on a verbal.
I'm gonna take full responsibility here. I'm sorry, I am wrong, 100% wrong. I did what I thought was right. I thought I was following everything. Obviously, I didn't, and now I'm where I'm at, and that's why I'm in front of you. I am sorry. If I can go back and do it, I would, but I can't. So I'm just trying to move forward, and I'm just asking for your help.
Dory, quick question. Is there any fines or penalties that they already have paid or had anything that we know, or that was inflicted or?
No, I think that we would be, sort of holding off at this point, especially for this meeting, yeah.
So I feel like there's, kind of ran ahead. I feel like if there was like some moderate fine, like you paid, I don't know if it's like, I don't know how they do it.
So so from my perspective, it's a big mistake but they don't have all the permits in line, but they're here. So I think we need to move forward with the knowledge that, okay, they have a problem, but we need to kind of figure out.
It's a huge problem. The house is almost gone. That's why it's crazy to charge our that much.
So that
Do we want to focus the discussion? I mean, we know
Are we ready to
how we
close
got
it?
here.
Well, I just want to say that we hired all reputable surveyors, site engineer, builder, and
I don't know of any builders that start without permits.
So let's not beat a dead horse. We know that they don't have permits. We know that they did do some level of due diligence. They went to the shoreline impact thing, they went to their boards, they made sure that it was consistent with their boards. They did have conversations with the town, although the actual permits did not get done properly. So we know all that piece of it.
That's how we got here.
That's how we're here.
Right.
That's all
Well, we
we're
would have been
here.
here either way, if it was done properly.
Right,
So-
yes.
Exactly.
Yes, it would have just been earlier and the house would probably still be standing, so.
Maybe, maybe not, I don't know about it.
I have a multifaceted question, and I'm not sure how to ask it.
Okay,
So I'm just gonna make a statement
yep.
and go from here. On the proposed house plans, which is this page here,
This one,
Second
the one
page.
before it, I think?
this one here, it says a permeable,
Oh, permit.
proposed
Oh, yeah.
permeable
Oh,
driveway.
yeah.
That's the deed, yes, yes.
Okay, well, I'm just looking at this.
Okay.
In the comments here, it lists setbacks. It lists front yard setback, side rear yard setback, maximum lot coverage. It says dimensional controls, land is located in the resort commercial district. That's line 4, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4.
Yep.
Line
Yep.
5, Lakewood Condos Association building setback, 6 feet from any limited.
Common
Yeah,
area
well, looks
line, I'm
small.
reading
This
from a
one's
big
bigger.
one. Yeah, it must provide parking for 2 cars from common road.
Yes, okay, but here's my question. This is probably more of a Dari question, so I'm gonna turn to Dari and ask.
Yeah, okay.
The fact that the Lakewood Condo Association has their own setbacks, how does that impact or state control with the town of Tilton setbacks that we have in the resort commercial district?
It has no impact.
So they really aren't,
They're subject to Tilton's regulations.
they're subject to, which are listed above this comment.
Yeah, just to add a little side note for, if it were more of a condo association where there weren't lot lines,
Yeah.
then that would have more of an effect. But here we're dealing with, established lot lines.
Right.
And,
Part 2 of that question, I know we've had this issue before, on planning board, where on the plans, all the setbacks are noted on here, they're not noted on these plans, but this driveway, is that considered against the lot line? Is that considered a structure?
it's somewhat of a gray area, but we took this sort of stance on this, that we focus on the building. Because, of somewhat, I think that has been an existing parking area, or, there traditionally has been existing parking areas on the property, and we didn't see that as a significant enough change to address. However,
Although it's listed as a storm permeable and a stormwater catchment as well from shoreline, so I don't think it would. That would be a
right,
definitely
essentially,
gray area.
it has the impact, right, it's pervious, one thing, which is an added benefit, but we thought that we really needed to focus on the building and allow for that parking in that location.
Because I think the discussions that I've been involved with regarding parking and setbacks, they were actually paved lots or parking, whereas this is not. This is permeable, so, but anyway.
Yeah.
The decision was to focus on the structure, but I think that may be a difference,
Right, sure, yeah, right.
whereas this is not paved.
All right.
Can I ask a question on the setbacks? Where you mentioned where it's a condo association, so when we were incorporated as a condo association in the 70s, does that mean that we would be grandfathered into what the setbacks were for the town back then when we were incorporated?
No, I don't, I can't think of a case where that would be. I mean, Yeah, I don't see the condo documents influencing that. Just the same, you know, if you bought a house in the 1970s in a neighborhood without condo documents, you wouldn't be grandfathered for setbacks.
So with the
Would we have had to follow what the town's setbacks were at that time though?
Mm-hmm.
So and that's what would be in our documents, so that's what we're.
Well, I think that if a house was built in the seventies, it was 6 feet, according to what that line says.
Right.
But now, you come in and you build it in the building, you have to basically conform that to 2019 setbacks. Would that be a fair?
So it's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
so you couldn't consider it a condo association, and as long as the condo association as the whole, with
Right.
all its buildings inside of it met all the setback things?
Right, I
No.
don't think so,
Alright.
yeah. Yeah, no, I
Just a
think,
question.
yeah.
Okay.
Can I just say one thing, and maybe, I don't know, but I thought that by screwing it off, that it's still, the distance is the same on both sides in here. So by screwing it off, it's still the same. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
All the
the
way
difference
around.
here, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that if you kept the same structure and just added on more walls to the same structure, then it would be in addition to the footprint, whereas this is a brand new structure, so it is now falling under the construction of a brand new building, and all of current 2019 zoning applies.
Yeah.
So I think that's
That's the difference.
the
Yeah.
difference
Mm.
between the two.
No.
Is that
If I
fair to
could,
say?
I think to some degree, except for the fact that if they kept the same structure and they didn't tear it down and they wanted to add,
That's what I'm saying. the
well,
difference
that would
between-
still need a variance.
Still
Oh,
need,
even,
That would, and
Well,
the
you
rationale being
Yeah.
is that the zoning ordinance states, under the non-conforming uses section, that, if you're going to increase a non-conforming use, then you have to go to the zoning.
oh, because that would be an increase of the non-conforming.
Right, even
in that
Current
case.
non-
Yeah,
Current
it may have been.
standard,
and it,
okay.
and I think, you know, what they're saying is, they're not coming any closer to that lot line than that one portion. But what we're saying is, yeah, but there's more area of the setback being taken up by building,
Right.
which per the zoning ordinance necessitates this trip to the
So
ZBA.
are these like,
Regardless.
on
Yeah.
New
septic
structure
Yeah.
or
or
sewage?
existing.
So,
Right.
we're gonna be
Sewer.
hooked up to
Town
that.
sewer.
Town sewer,
And
okay,
there's the sewer hookup is right there.
okay.
We're gonna have a well put in. It's gonna be well water, the well is gonna be put in here. There's an existing storm drain that runs right in between the cement, storm system that's gonna be remaining. And this all impervious is gonna just allow for water to drain straight down and filter through.
Go ahead.
The well is right in that corner.
Where's the septic? Oh, it's a septic.
No,
it's a
it's
sep-
sewage.
sewer, never mind.
Sewage, yeah,
Come on.
sewage.
It's town sewage.
No, I was thinking it's a sewer versus water. I think there's some type of circular
Yeah,
thing,
Okay.
but it's something, so it doesn't really
okay.
matter.
You had a multifaceted question, did you get all your facets addressed?
Yeah, I know that, I don't know if it was, I think it was in this neighborhood, within the last 18 months, I believe there was a fire down there.
Right.
And one of the issues of that fire was closeness of other buildings to each other. And I don't know if that's an issue that the fire department should approve on that.
So if this were approved, it would still have to go to planning and be subject, no,
Not planning.
not planning, but it could be still subject to all the health and welfare and fire ordinances that exist.
Yes, a couple things about fire. The fire department receives an email prior to every ZBA meeting with links to the case materials,
Yeah,
and they're invited to comment. You know, obviously everyone's busy, I'm not
Yeah.
saying, you know, whatever.
Yeah, just-
But, you know, there was an opportunity, also, a renovation of this magnitude expect it to rebuild. Would require a certificate of occupancy, and that has to be signed off on by the fire department. So, there are opportunities for the fire department to, say, no, this isn't gonna work. However, obviously, the applicant doesn't wanna get in another situation where they've, done extensive work. So, probably a phone call to the fire department is probably a good idea.
Deputy Juber.
Yeah.
Can I add something about the fire? Just so you know, well, this particular house is right on the water, and the issue with it being burnt, the other cottage that was up the road from there was that they were unable to pump from the lake, because it collapses the, we always thought living on
Well,
the lake.
I know that they've put a cistern in there.
And we put a dry hydrant in there too, so that went in a year ago. So we have that there too, because it is a close-knit community there with a lot of.
Well, I'm just looking at this deck and the house distance, and I'm just concerned about the proximity to this new structure.
You can't have the deck.
The house next door has a deck.
Oh, yes.
And there's
Yes,
an
yes.
existing house. I want to go north, south, east, and west. And
Yeah.
to the north of the house, there's a platform deck, and then to the east, the west of the house, there's another house. So I'm just worried about the proximity.
Deck?
Yeah.
Deck, platform.
And I was, I'm just,
So what are you concerned about?
well, the proximity from the house to that deck, because again, when they had a fire down there, one of the issues was that the fire was able to spread to other buildings. Now granted, there's a cistern, but a dry hydrant down there now. I don't believe there was one down there before.
No.
That's why there is one.
I mean, the fire that was put in, I think 150 feet long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, it's a decent size.
With deck?
You still have to get a fire truck to connect to it.
Yep.
You know,
Make a suggestion, that if the applicant was willing to sprinkle the house, maybe that would solve some of the fire concerns.
Okay. Any other, did you get all your, for now? How about you?
Yeah.
Okay, how about you, Jim? Any other questions?
I was just thinking about the discussion as far as the setbacks and the distances from other structures, from actually property line and other structures. That's, and focusing on that, discussion on that.
I just want to know whether I should close.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Okay,
Sorry. At this point, I don't have any other questions.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, the general, we close it to discussions from the audience. All right, and we've talked amongst ourselves for a while, so, glass of water.
And do you want to reserve the right to reopen the hearing if
Yes.
necessary? Okay.
Yes, we always reserve the right to reopen it should we have additional questions. But we find it's easier just to kind of talk amongst ourselves, okay?
So should we leave?
You don't, oh, no, you can leave, you can listen, you can get a drink of water. You can do- Okay. Okay, so,
So,
comments and concerns?
my thoughts are that, I think we have a very good understanding of where we're at. I mean, we got to this place, the applicant got to this place, mistakes were made, things were not done by the book, but the application is for a variance for the new structure. My thought is to discuss that and see where that discussion goes.
I just had a comment on that. I can't keep stressing this, who's actually seen the structure as it sits today?
I have,
You have, so it's just me and you have seen it.
Requirement to go see it, yeah.
Because I think that's kind
I
of
was tempted, but I went to the wrong house. I have a GPS and before I listened to
So what is your concern about the new house?
Well, first of all, it's there, and we don't have any of the building permits were never checked for that, because we don't know what the building codes, if it's falling in the code. There's a lot of other variables, we don't know if this house was built to code, first thing, that's the biggest thing.
Well, there would be,
that's not our
that's
discussion.
not our issue.
I know.
That's not our
And
issue.
there-
It's
there
just,
may be-
they're very far along, and it's a very well, it looks very nicely built, as you saw. You know, you've seen how they've built it, and it looks like it's done pretty well, but it's a fact that, do we know if it's done well? It's pretty sealed up, as you can tell.
That's
So
not,
it's not
but
really-
that's
Yeah,
not
that's-
our, that's not our jurisdiction.
Sorry.
Well, no, I was gonna actually say what Chairman Princiata said. I think your concerns are extremely valid,
I think they're
100%
valid.
That's why we
Yeah.
have these processes, that's why.
Yeah.
However,
there.
this is somewhat of an isolated process. The steps of making sure that the building was properly built will be addressed by the code enforcement officer and the fire chief. Again, I don't wanna make it sound like I
No,
don't
but
agree with
it's
what
still
you-
part of the process, that's why we have this process, and it's
It
there
is,
for a
but-
reason.
It is, but not our part of this process.
Process,
Because I
right.
think, like, as Daria was saying, our part of this larger process is a small component of it. Although it's important, it's a component of it, which is distances and what the ordinance says, and the application is for a variance to zoning.
Right,
And we're here as a kind of a stopgap measure to help the landowner use their property the best they can,
right,
using the ordinances that are in place.
right.
So,
And we have to trust that the other people will do their jobs. And so if there are problems, code enforcement or fire will pick them up and they will have to be addressed before they can use the property, right?
Same way we have.
Right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So we do our job as to looking at the zoning and the intent of the zoning ordinances and look at it in that light.
Okay. All right, so if you want to talk about it as kind of like the new building, right? So from what I'm seeing, it is consistent with the area, right?
Yes, if you've been through the area, the
Yeah.
houses are very tight.
Yeah.
You went down through there, right? So,
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
so,
right in that area and look at it.
yeah.
I mean, the houses are close together, but there are other houses that are as close together. The size of the structure,
Yeah, what do you mean by that? Like you said, there's other houses closer together?
as close as these are.
I don't know anywhere else in town that they're that
No,
close.
no,
It's
no,
just
no.
like,
In
you're
that-
talking about
in
that
that
area,
community.
yeah,
in
absolutely.
the,
that
in that
in
area.
the community.
And there's closer ones, absolutely. As you
Yes.
drive in, you can see.
Anybody, all right, so from someone who has dealt with exactly what this woman this couple is dealing with, in that having a property on, in my case, was a beach. People were building on top of everything. There's many things that, I mean, it's hard, it was done established in a time when, you know, you didn't have like the protections, the land protections that you do now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when we had to go through the rebuilding process, I mean, we had to go through a lot of hoops. We had to make sure that all the things were done, but ultimately, it was, you know, the other property, in my case, was in disrepair and needed to be demolished.
always
And, yeah, I mean, there's only so much you can do.
And all the
And-
other houses in the neighborhood, if you do, they're everyone, this would be probably, I think, is it the last one that's in like older shape, because it looks like they're all recently modern homes.
No, the one right
to the
beside
right
is, the one right on the other side is
So,
awful.
Oh, okay.
so,
I didn't see that.
That's,
Slowed
that's,
down.
that's
You saw me
usually-
trudging,
that's
it was
the last
slippery.
one.
so-
yeah, so we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing. But, you know, I think from the perspective of, you know, what
No one's complaining either.
what is this couple going to do with this property? How can they use it? You know, I mean, that's our, kind of our thing. Can they use it? I mean, it's kind of, you know, from my perspective, trying to put something on that property is difficult. It's a challenge regardless. I mean,
There was a 500 and some odd square foot home there. The original structure was 500 and something.
50
square
again.
yeah, yeah, and the new structure's gonna be 2,400, but 2
Yeah,
floors.
but the
Two
footprint
floors, the
is
footprint is-
around
Oh,
860.
so you guys are only on the first floor right now?
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a
Second
two-story.
floor doesn't really matter, but it's the footprint.
Yeah, it's the footprint that matters.
You can build it up to 40 feet in that code.
Yeah,
If you
before.
put 5 floors and 40
And
feet.
it's,
people
third,
do
I
that.
believe it's 29 foot tall total. So it's within that.
Yeah.
So,
So the neighbors behind don't have any objection, obviously.
So we
No,
didn't,
no one's had any objections.
we didn't get any objections from anybody, correct?
Oh, right, not that I am aware of, yeah. right,
Just those
these
two in
letters, yeah.
support, and
And, right.
2 additional members here.
Okay.
Yeah, and I guess we
Spoken
should-
with the lady
What?
behind
Um,
the structure, and
yeah.
she's in full support.
I'll make sure the minutes reflect these 2 letters came in too.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you did all see them, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
The lady behind us was just, I'm sorry.
sorry, yeah. Okay, so I've said my piece. I mean, I know we need to, it's really tight, and
Question,
go ahead.
do we know the square footage of the lot?
it's a .12 acres.
Yeah.
Which is how many square?
I did the math last night.
21.
It's within 60%. I did.
Well,
that
I'm just
math.
looking at the 60%, I was just looking at this,
Oh, covering 60% of the,
Yeah.
a lot, so I didn't know.
It's 800 and.
It looks, the lot looks to be about 50 feet wide,
Okay.
give or
Uh-huh.
take. But I'm just,
lot,
but I can't tell how deep it is because I can't tell what the property lines are. But I'm just going based on what the permit says, it's 11 feet, 12 feet, and it's 27 feet wide, which equals 50 feet. That's how I'm roughly estimating that. So, if you take the setbacks on that are 20 feet on either side, at least you do 10 feet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
If the setback requirements of the zoning for that zone.
right, that's right.
It's gonna be so tiny, yeah.
Yeah, so I have to hold up a 10
Okay.
foot.
I'm just going for,
Yeah,
hold my thought one second.
okay,
We had a similar situation with a commercial lot on Route 3,
Yeah,
Rap City, where the lot
oh,
It's right here.
the lot was too narrow for setbacks because you couldn't position the building.
Yeah,
it's such a
What,
way.
they had to come get a variance.
they
they
got
did,
variance.
we did,
Yeah,
they
they
did
did.
get a variance.
So,
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
that's a
we're
very
on
good
Good
point.
analogy.
Yeah.
well, I'm just using
That's
that
actually-
because
That's a
a
good
precedent for
memory.
the town that has, that there is a, and I don't know if this is the right thing to say, there is a precedent in town where when a lot is too narrow to build, we have allowed a variance for a building to follow. And I don't know if that's the right thing to say, but I just said it.
Yeah, I guess, I think everything you said is true. You know, it's up to you guys to determine how relevant it is to this particular case.
It's a case by
That's pretty
case
relevant.
relevancy.
Right, yeah.
At least we
I
do
mean,
it
I'm not,
before.
I will, yeah.
Well, my only concern is proximity to other buildings, but that's, I can't determine that here.
You went down through there.
I
So-
did, but as I said, I went through my
It's really
GPS took me to the wrong
Okay,
house.
so,
It
I
is
have
tight.
one little,
go ahead.
my basic train of thought is right now is, I look at how far they've down the building, it looks good, and it fits in with the neighborhood. It doesn't like stand out like a sore thumb, and I just feel like,
Let's get a big chart, so
yeah,
this thing.
I think they understand, yeah,
That's
yeah, a
not
little
big.
bit, yeah.
It's not
The New
big.
Hampshire flag.
But you can tell that it's gonna be, you know, similar to the other homes. And I just wanna make sure that they know that that if we didn't approve this, it would like be torn down, which wouldn't be a really productive thing for
So-
them or anyone, so that's why
So,
it's.
I think we'll go through the whole
Yeah, let's-
laundry
let's do
list of
That's my train of thought,
things,
it's
but I
like,
wanted to make sure we got all the,
I mean, that's where we're at.
yeah.
but I
It
mean,
seems that
Eric
we're here.
did make a
Yeah.
good point.
We're gonna need to be
because,
here either way, but it's just a
Right.
thought later in the process.
I mean, what do? You
Yeah.
have a
You need a
10-foot
10-foot wide
long,
building.
long
It's not like it's-
section.
Out of the norm, that's what I'm always about, it's not like it's a mega mansion in a small little.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
no.
Okay, all right, so, all right. Does anybody have any, I mean, my thing is they basically kept the
Closest
footprint,
things.
yeah.
But does that matter with the new zoning? It's a new structure, so it really doesn't.
Right, no, I understand that, but in keeping with they did not exceed it.
The original
They did not exceed the original footprint, they extended the non-conformance, but they didn't exceed it. And, all right, I said, do you want to have any more questions, or shall we go through kind of our list?
I am done.
You are done,
I am
how about you?
Yeah, I think it'd be productive to go through the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a little cheat sheet, we have to, variances have to follow a set of like guidelines, so we usually keep ourselves honest by going through them. So the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, conflict with basic zoning objectives, the ZBA should examine whether they alter the essential character of the locality, threaten public health, safety, or welfare. So I think we have the fire piece, but there's a possibility of sprinkler in the house.
But that would only
And
go
there's
that
a-
structure,
that
not the
house.
ones around it.
So it's kind of a,
But hopefully that the sprinklers will contain the
So
fire
that's-
structure, so that it
That's
doesn't
right.
spread, giving the fire department time to get to the scene.
And there is
Hook
that
up to
dry
it.
hydrant now.
But the dry hydrant only works if the fire department connects to it, so that's what it's.
Yeah, okay.
Which they would, but I'm just
Okay.
saying.
All right,
You think s-
all right.
we'll need to hit it, but you're kind of more like a fire no-no, so you think a sprinkler system would be beneficial, even though all the other houses don't, so it's like kind of silly. That's what.
You think it's
It's kind of silly, like put a sprinkler in
I
one of
don't
the
know, I
neighbors.
don't know
have
the
houses.
other houses,
I
I'm
just
only
think we're
going
putting
for,
on
Yeah, we don't-
financial
we can- yeah,
constraints
we-
on them, so it
Okay,
well,
does cost money.
but you could have fire weigh in on what, no?
I would say, you know, the board, you obviously have, you know, wide, vast authority to set conditions of approval if you were to approve. However, you could also just say, as part of this obtaining a certificate of occupancy, he has to get the signature of the fire department. If the fire department at that point is gonna require sprinklers, they're gonna require sprinklers and leave, so that's, that, you know.
Okay,
sort of
leave
make
it up to
that
them,
decision.
all right.
It's up, well, I'm saying that's your range of
Well, no.
options, I'm not saying leave it up to
Yeah.
them.
question,
Go ahead.
if he says that the fire department requires a sprinkler, and they build it without sprinklers, then they're gonna have to go back and retrofit those.
And I did mention them, it might make sense to put a call into the fire
Yeah.
department soon, just to make sure nothing like that does
We're
happen.
not at this point.
Okay. All right, the spirit of the ordinance is observed.
I think just because of the neighborhood, but it's not really. That's my thought.
What do you think?
I do think so. I was looking at the setback ordinance and the purposes for the dimensions. Yes, I do. I believe it meets that. It's leaning in that direction.
It's leaning in that direction. Do you feel the same, Eric?
We have that, I think you have to take a look at it, just like we looked at in other cases, not that this board has seen it, but in other cases.
How we felt.
You have to take it sometimes case by case, because,
Yep.
I mean, back in the 70s and 60s,
No, I
Just like
mean,
the old days, you scribble out a piece of land, that's my land, I put a flag here, and that's my land, you know.
no, I understand that perfectly.
30 years later, all of a sudden, it doesn't fit.
Yep,
But I believe they call that a non-conforming lot. And so we have several of those in town that are non-conforming lots, and they don't seem to, not that I want to make a ton of non-conforming lots, but in this location, you know, there's no neighbors to the back.
it's on the water side,
Well, that's the back.
yeah,
Yeah.
To them, it's the front, but for town purposes, it's
Yeah.
the back.
right,
There's no neighbors to the back unless they're across the lake in Belmont, and I'm pretty sure.
And you've got plenty of distance there.
yeah, yeah.
At least a couple feet.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a building to
There isn't.
the side yard, to the right.
Yeah, to the.
Over here?
East, there is not.
Yeah, there's Lakewood Cottage.
Replanting,
No, it's tax map U2 lot 5, common lot, so I don't know what that is.
common lot, is there an
Yeah,
association?
but is there, I had a map.
Is, maybe.
No, it's.
Okay. The common lot is vacant.
Yes. And there's,
Yeah,
Oh, it's
just a
the
road that comes down.
association.
It's just a road that comes down, I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, there's a structure back there, but it's far enough away that I'm
Yeah,
not.
there's nothing,
okay,
nothing directly adjacent.
okay. All right, the substantial justice is done, it's not possible for, each case must individually determined by board members, perhaps the only guiding rule. Loss to the individual that is not outweighed by the gain to the public interest is an injustice. Injustice must be capable of relief by granting a variance that meets the other qualifications.
So there's no gain to the general public for them not to build. There's no gain to the general public for them to not use this land.
Well, there's the gains in the public, because everyone's house around it, get no offense,
But
gets rid of an eyesore. And so they all gain financially.
But they're not, but it's not, that's
that-
not the public.
Sure.
Well, I don't,
The immediate public.
the immediate public, not the general public.
Well, how
the
the people,
people going by.
If I got to use their beach, you know.
sharks.
But I mean, the use of their land as they see fit, putting a structure on it,
But it's getting rid of an eyesore.
But is that, so is getting the eyesore relief, is the loss to them for not being able to use it outweighed or less outweighed by the gain to the public, general public? Like I'd say that their loss was higher than the general public's gain.
True. If they were forced to build a 10-foot wide structure only,
Well, it wouldn't be practical.
yeah, it wouldn't be practical, and I think they would be at a loss of use of their property.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense to have a 10-foot house unless it's a
True.
camper.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's an RV.
yeah, there you go.
Park on the perfect drive.
Ah.
The bring on.
The values of the surrounding properties are not diminished. I would say that that would not be the case. We all-
When this is
That's
finished, I
fairly
don't think
limited.
that'll be diminished at all. When this is finished.
So it matter now because the house is down, so they can't put it back together.
Well, in the current state, if it was left in the current state, they would be diminished. Current state being middle.
Oh, half
construction.
done.
Yeah,
But it wouldn't be left in current state,
That's
if it did have to be,
it would go one direction.
yeah, have to
Yeah.
go demolished.
Right.
But I think when it's done, it would not diminish
No, but it's done.
Right.
value of the surrounding property.
Literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship. I think that's the 10-foot
I
house.
think
It's more of a
that-
standard of living.
Yeah.
I think that would be a hardship for them if we said, no, you must build a 10-foot wide house. That's it.
Tiny houses. are all
Tiny-
right.
Yeah.
They're all the rage, you're right, yeah.
Yeah, but not
Could you
for
live in one?
extended family
Yeah,
and grandkids, it's not
Yeah.
very conducive.
yeah.
No, cuts down the visitation.
All right, you got that.
Trying to help you out.
Yeah.
I guess it means that owing to special conditions of the property that distinguish it from other properties, no comparisons. General. The proposed use is a reasonable one. Meet the criteria. Let's see. So I think that, I think we've hit all five of the things. Do we have any other comments, questions? Do we need to open up the floor?
I would like to ask the people from the association a few questions.
Does anybody object?
What's
Just to have their understanding of their way in on the structure.
Do you have the, no?
No.
Okay. All right.
One of the questions I was curious about was the structure they're planning on building is a two-story structure. And from what I saw, a two-story structure in that location is going to block the view of the lake from people behind it or away from the lake. Has there been any discussion along those lines of blocking the view with a two-story structure?
I think it's just a casual conversation. There's
Right.
nothing that anybody brought it to the board's attention that they can't do that, I'm losing my view, or there's been none of that.
No objection?
No objections at all.
No.
Do people know? Because it is winter time, so it's.
Well,
I
I think
wouldn't
we've
say
known all summer.
everybody, but I would say the majority, do know.
Because the only people, so the only majority of the people know, not everyone that could be affected by the view. Essentially.
Well, I'd say the most likely person would be tax map, U2 lot 7, and they would notice.
And who's
They-
that? Do
they,
you know who that is?
No, but I'm just looking at the house and
Oh.
Is that
That's-
the one
that's
directly
the
north?
other.
That's Terry?
Yeah, that's
That'd
right.
be,
Is that directly north?
Nielsen is U27? Yeah.
Yeah.
She would have given us a letter, she said if we needed it, but she's not in Florida.
well, this is right here, this is tax map.
Very happy she's not.
No, that's
And
what,
she's actually looking.
I'll have it right from the whole time.
This is her, right?
Yeah, so we're talking about the house that's directly north, oh, okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Yes, right behind.
Yeah.
She has a view.
Yeah, which is the opposite direction, so.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yep.
right.
Yeah.
how could she?
I mean, there's a few that are sitting back up on the hill that it will impact theirs, but
That's what I
My
was-
immediate
although-
concern is the neighborhood and butters the most,
Yeah.
and the house directly to the north would be infected by the. and I don't-
she would be the most, but yeah,
Right.
she had no issues.
But I just want to make sure that she was noticed.
I wanted to kind of describe for the other people, as you noticed, when you came down in and you looked over, where the house is was kind of like a little gap, almost. And it was a one-story, and it's gonna be two, so the people that are coming, you're driving in and coming to see, they're gonna lose their lake.
Right.
So there is people that are gonna lose lake.
Well, I mean, I don't know, do they actually lose the
There's right to the left of it though too, so it's not like, right to the left of us is all the open area, so, you know, so it's not like there's a house.
Do you have any other questions for
Torn.
Go ahead, about what?
So if the condition was, and I guess I'm gonna ask her, is if the condition was that you had to sprinkle the house, are you willing to sprinkle the house?
Absolutely. I will do whatever I'm supposed to do, I thought I was.
Well,
No, but I mean,
But I will
that's
do-
another, that's an additional expense, so that
Well,
would be,
It's a condition.
Yes.
yeah.
It's not gonna make a
Okay.
hardship for you to.
Okay, all right, so do we feel like we've discussed everything? Dealt with all the questions?
I just wish we could have
Discuss.
known about the people that own the properties on the driveway in, about the view now I
So-
think about it.
So when
Do they know?
butters are noticed, is the association that was notified, or were the actual butters?
They're all individual butters.
They're all individual butters, so she would have received a letter.
Yeah, letters went out to the applicant, to U25, U27, and U29.
Okay.
It only has to be the immediate above.
Well,
Yeah.
So
that's,
Lakewood
and
Cottage
that's all that.
Association, which is the big lot to the right.
Right.
Marie Jane Nielsen, which is the lot to the north. And then Walter and
Sorry.
Walter, sorry, attention, Pat Richard
Driscoll.
Driscoll. And there to the house to the left, which is U9. So the only three properties that
Those are the
require,
only ones we
are the direct abutters.
address. Right, we look at the abutters.
I don't think U9 has an issue with you because it's.
We're not on the road in, you know. It'd be like, it's like a mess.
Okay, so, do we need,
Like
do
these
we,
folks with this, they're seeing that through the driveway. But they still have another way they can look out, that's what she's talking about. They would lose their view here because there's.
not necessarily, how high up there?
This
You
is
have to
like a
look at-
hill, this is like
Yeah,
a hill.
well, that's what I'm saying, that if they can look
The two-story will block
this
it.
way.
Two-story will block it for these guys, just these two. So,
But we actually don't know how much it would, because
Right.
there is an elevation
Right,
between this house and that one
But
back
that's why
there.
we should, I think they should be notified.
well, I mean,
It's not our,
if
it's
they,
not our purview to
that's-
Yeah, no,
notify.
that's
Yeah.
not.
that's the problem, it's
The
like,
restrictions and
I
resorts.
feel bad, I feel like we're not advocating for everybody.
Resort commercial district is maximum structure height is 40 feet. They're
And they're
constrained by
well within that.
yeah.
two-story
It's,
floors of 25
It's
feet.
25,
29 and
29?
change, I believe, is what the plan said.
yeah,
So they're well within that restriction.
so, okay. Anything else, so that we're within it, so it doesn't matter.
It's already happened there.
Right. Okay, anything else?
I think I'm all set. No other questions?
I'd like to make a motion
Okay,
that we approve. Help me out.
1901.
Case number 1901 with the following conditions of the structure is sprinkled.
Second?
Any,
And requiring it to be sprinkled?
Well, let me ask this question. Can we get confirmation that the fire department would confirm that, and if the fire department doesn't require sprinklers?
Yeah, so you could phrase your condition maybe that, like, sprinklers or other fire suppression, as recommended by, fire department shall be installed or something like that.
Or would we want to go as simple as must be reviewed by fire department?
You could even go that simple, yeah, but if you wanted to kind of, give
Gear
a little
the-
more suggestion, yeah, either way, I do agree, you could simply say,
I think having their input because of what did happen in the area, having their required input would be a good direction.
So we should not do the sprinkle house, we should do,
So,
I mean, they're the experts.
we're taking back that motion now? or-
Well, I mean,
so we're in discussion, so we can change it or edit it. if we
That's what I was
want.
asking, I
Yeah.
didn't know if we're just got in to take it back,
I
or?
mean, if that's what you want to do, Eric. go
well,
for
I'm
it.
just, I mean, the applicant's willing to sprinkle the house. I think that our on the side of safety is paramount, just for the integrity of the neighborhood. And I don't know if any other houses in that development are sprinkled or not, I have no way of knowing that. I could find that out, but I'm not.
I guess I kind of lean towards not as black and white regulation, but more leave it to the people that is their business to know what is needed for fire and let them decide. That's kind of what I would lean towards.
So would you follow then Dari's recommendation, sprinklers or other fire suppression as recommended by the fire department?
If needed by the fire department, because it may not need, they may not think it needs any.
As required by the fire
As
department.
required,
Right.
as,
The Tilton Northfield Fire District.
Northfield, that's a fire district. And EMS, do I have?
No, it's just Tilton Northfield Fire.
District.
EMS, no, he lives in EMS.
And EMS, fire and EMS, okay, okay. So, we have an edit.
Well, so I guess you have to take back your second.
Take it
Well,
back.
no, we can just edit, can't we?
Well, he could reinstate, however you wanna do it, yeah. I mean-
Reinstate it on the second.
Yeah.
Okay, go
with
ahead, restate it. Go for it.
Approve case 1901 with the stipulation as she reads it.
Okay, that sprinklers or fire suppression as required by the Tilton Northfield Fire District and EMS.
Second.
All in favor? No, wait a minute, any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I'm gonna say aye in favor of.
Oh,
Like-
so it's unanimous?
Unanimous.
Okay, unanimous, okay.
Go forth and bill.
Go forth and bill.
Thank
We
you.
get the
Well,
building
wait a minute,
Get
wait
the
a minute.
building permit.
All right, yes,
Please.
all right, so you have your variance and I'll go do all the other stuff.
Yes.
that you
Before
need
we
to
start
do.
cracking hammers.
Yeah. All right,
Thank you very
all
much.
right, we have a couple of other little business things.
Sure, I'd like
I,
a second.
yeah, that's fine.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so
No
much.
bad leg.
That's tough.
Thank you. I think it's nice to have me.
Oh, probably.
Going in.
So sorry. I didn't plan on doing it.
No.
Have you heard this thing?
That's an emotional
Yep.
situation here.
You know?
I was getting all nervous.
It's better be scared of your house almost working.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand.
I'll give you, you're from Drake, I saw on here.
Yes.
So if you'd like to know a little history about that zoning, go to Westford. Look at the history of the Western Regency.
Yeah, I have my, that's where my
Yeah.
prom thing was.
Okay, so when that was built, they looked at plans and plans, everyone looked at plans. And all of a sudden they built this big, multi-million-dollar structure.
Yeah.
Someone took a, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, you're not supposed to have a 4-story building. Oh, wait, let me pull up my slide rule.
Oops.
Oh, that building's 35 feet tall, you're not supposed to be over 30 feet tall. Oh, no, it's 36 feet tall, you're not supposed to be over 35 feet tall.
Oh.
But it all depends how much mulch you remove for the mulch bin before you measure. So just a little history on, you're not the only one that's ever had that zoning.
Oh, yeah.
I being a former resident of Westford, so.
Oh, really?
It took 10 years for us to be able, 10 years.
Oh,
10 years
did you know?
to get our, that was down on the Cape, but yeah, 10 years. It was awful.
That's because you're trying to build the Cape Cod tunnel, so it's-
Yeah.
That's a long
That's
time,
nice.
though. I mean, that's a long time and a lot of,
Yeah, yeah,
thank you.
a lot of conservation.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
You too, thank you so much.
Good night.
Okay, we have
Trish,
just
John,
two other
thank you for
things.
coming. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad it worked out.
And is there any other comments?
No, I'll just tell you a quick thing after you do the minutes.
All right.
Make a motion to approve the minutes? Sorry. My bad. Thanks.
Oh, no problem.
Did I have a second? Oh, we just, oh, okay. Oh. Do we care about spelling?
Yeah,
Okay,
but
page,
you don't have to make it like a correction, I can just, an
okay.
amendment, I can just address
We,
it.
tell who voted for what on the last motion?
Oh, that's,
I wanna.
was that where you saw the misspelling, Mr. Gillen?
Gillen, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I guess,
Someone did make a comment about.
yeah, but I don't know that he,
I want
That
that
was
put in.
Judy
Put it
Tilton.
in, I want that.
alright,
Oh, no, it was the person sitting right there.
Jason. That was Jason.
Jason.
now, I guess I'll ask, where Mr. Olson's asking for this to be placed here, are you guys asking for that always to be the case?
Yes, please.
Alright.
I'm not sure I agree with
Yeah,
that.
what are we?
I think we should definitely face the music for what we vote for, and let the taxpayers
It's-
know who votes for what.
It's on the.
Every other board does,
It's
so.
a public record.
But it doesn't say who was doing it, it just says 3 in favor, 2 opposed, it doesn't say.
We're on television.
Doesn't matter, the official record is this piece of paper.
Yeah, that's why.
It normally doesn't, though. What, say who voted for and
Does it
against?
not? It doesn't
No,
now.
I don't think I usually do. Usually both motions are unanimous, and so, you know, you just go that route. I don't know what tradition is, but, so it was, in this case, who were the two opposed?
So.
Me and Aaron.
Okay, Aaron. Okay. And then, okay. All right, yeah, we can start doing that if it's unanimous, obviously, I'll just put all in favor, right?
Thank you, yep, that's.
All right.
Yeah, because it tells who's in attendance
Right.
at a meeting anyway, so it's unanimous, everybody votes.
Wasn't
Otherwise, it's.
Jason Wright or Judy Tilton, or Judy Tilton at this meeting?
Yes,
Was that the first
Judy.
time?
Jason he came down at the
Late.
very end.
Very
Did he
end.
make any comments though? I thought he did.
No.
I don't think
That's
so.
why the meeting was
No.
over.
When the meeting was over, he asked who voted for what,
Right.
but Judy was sitting,
I was waiting for it.
yeah.
Besides that, guess I make a motion to accept the minutes. Everyone's cool with them? I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's with the changes, correct?
With the
Yeah,
changes,
sorry,
yeah,
with one.
with the changes, okay. And then, any other business?
Just real quick, if you look at the, special exception section of the zoning ordinance, you don't have to right now.
Yeah.
It very sort of neatly lists the 6 criteria that you guys work with now.
Yeah.
And then way down at the bottom, in the last paragraph, it throws out this 7th criteria. And so we propose, and Eric knows about this, the planning board has proposed as one of the zoning amendments for this year, to move that up so it's clearly listed with the other 6 special exception criteria. Just to let you guys know. Because right now, it's in there as a criteria, but it's not, it doesn't show up with the rest of them.
So here's special exception,
I think it's 11.5.
action.
Page 39.
Enacted, such exception. the
No,
board
no,
shall
no,
take
sorry, it's not that.
2 copies of the plans, the permit shall expire.
Maybe I need to take that from you for a second, sorry.
Wait a minute. Oh, wait, so that's the older version, wait a minute, what section is it? We've got a new one last week.
Here it is. 11.8, I'll just read it real quick. Operations in connection with such a use shall not be more objectionable to nearby properties by reason of noise, fumes, odor, or vibration than would be the operation of any permitted uses in the district which are not subject to special exception procedures.
Oh, wait.
Yeah, so that's
Oh,
pretty,
all right.
that's a criteria, or a criterion. And so it should be listed with the others. So,
Is that
Okay.
including like construction, I guess, I'm interpreting that as, or is it just constant? Like if you can't have like. digging operation,
I
that's
think, just into,
Constant.
yeah.
Not the actual construction.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you guys, if some construction, the building of something was gonna be extremely disruptive, I suppose, a board could look at denying it because of that.
Blasting stone for,
Maybe, yeah, right, I mean, and then, so just, the other real
Okay.
quick, then, so two things that might now require special exceptions would be the possibility of allowing detached accessory dwelling units, and whereas attached don't require a visit to the ZBA, the board is proposing detached, and if you want to do detached, you do have to come in for a special exception.
Okay.
So that butters can be notified and people can know if it's gonna disrupt the neighborhood. Or you guys can get a sense from the people who show up. And then the other thing is allowing for small scale manufacturing on Main Street. Right now it's not. Someone could argue that you couldn't brew beer on Main Street, say, as an example, because that's manufacturing or whatever, and manufacturing is not allowed. Whereas, I think most people would sort of intuitively or sort of on its face say, yeah, of course, Tilton allows a beer brewery downtown.
this makes it clear, you can do things like that in the downtown district and other districts, it's a new
So
category.
it's all districts though, right?
Well,
Because I saw that it was also included agriculture, which
It-
I was surprised.
it, right, yeah, it includes not all districts, if you look at the amendment, you'll see it, but,
Yeah,
there are some districts where it requires a special exception. So
Okay.
that would be another one, other than that,
okay.
that's all I've got.
You mentioned something about something was being challenged, that we made a decision on or
Oh, yeah.
something. Was it-
Are we done? Should we, do we?
Motion to adjourn?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, motion to adjourn? All those-
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then what were you saying about our challenges?
Sorry, wait.
Let me
I'm just saying, man, I got bad leg. Horrible. It's strong right now.